religions, what is the origin of all world religions? Doesn't matter, Buddhism with no God, Christianity with this super personality, the Father in heaven, or Hinduism with this variety of approaches in religion and gods and goddesses. What is the origin of all this and all these religions? How do they spring up? Where do they spring up from? There must be some origin, some fountainhead from where they sprang out. The fountainhead, the heart of all religions is experiential. What happens is that some individuals in some part of the world, in some time in history, past, present, or even perhaps in the future, encounter something that is out of the ordinary. It is not ordinary in any sense at all, it's extraordinary. They encounter an experience that transforms their lives, and they are so charged up by this experience that they wish in a way to make an impact on greater society. They wish to give expression to their experience, and somehow they feel very motivated. Most of them feel highly motivated to, in a way, translate their experience into some kind of ideas for greater society. This is the origin of all world religions. This is how they sprang up. In some religions, you had one or two prophets who were the founders, whose spiritual experiences were the foundation stones on which the religions were built. Say Judaism. Abraham, Moses are the key founders of this religion. Christianity, of course, Christ. Islam, Muhammad. Buddhism, Buddha. So all these religions have some personalities who encountered an experience which can be classed as spiritual. Now what we mean by spiritual, we leave it alone for the time being. We don't try and analyze it. They seem to have an out of this world or extraordinary experience. Now be very careful when we talk like this. I mean, you find people who are reporting they were abducted by aliens and they're extraordinary. You see, you have to be very watchful. So for every one person who is making claims of spiritual experience, there are hundreds who are absolute idiots, who are completely nutters. So you have to shift them. But how do you shift them? The way you shift them is this. See to what extent this experience have made them better human beings, greater human beings, well-adjusted human beings, or deranged human beings. To what extent they have got the ability to transform their own lives and the lives of people who come near them. And you see, I'm now using very subjective language. When I say transformation, what do I mean by it? I mean, how do I define wholesome and acceptable and not this alien invasion, all that? How do I distinguish? Well, it's very tricky. It is highly subjective, and society can perhaps choose the wrong guys because they somehow find them more attractive and reject the right guys. So it is very subjective. In a way, whole of greater society will, in a way, dictate how we value them or sometimes devalue them. There is no fixed rule. It's an open game. It's best to be very open and clear about this whole business. So the spiritual experience of certain personalities during their own lifetimes, they did not bring about major change. Sometimes, for example, in the story of Christ, during his own lifetime, he was hardly, even if he was crucified, he was hardly recognized. He was ostracized, he was vilified in his own life. So only a few hundred years after he went away, he was gone, that suddenly Christianity started to gel. And his experiences and his teaching suddenly caught on. So you can see society was lagging behind. They couldn't catch up, and it took time before greater society took on his ideas and were able to digest his ideas and incorporate them within the system. See, there's a disjoint. And in the life of Buddha, his spiritual experiences immediately transformed the whole of India. During his lifetime, he transformed, almost whole of India became Buddhist in his own lifetime, not waiting for him to die and then recognize him. So we've got this variety of different, I'm just showing you how the spiritual experience forms the fountainhead of world religions. And sometimes they're immediately taken on, sometimes they take a long time for these ideas to filter through and affect the greater society. It kind of takes time to filter through. But the source of all world religions is experience, experiential dimension. This is the heart of religion. In fact, the reason why this part is sometimes, this dimension of religion is often overlooked and forgotten. And when you do that, you pay a heavy price. If you ignore this experiential dimension to your religion, your society will move away from religion. They'll become secular. They say, look, this is just airy-fairy stuff. Unless it becomes experiential and they are allowed to participate and experience this thing called spirit or God for themselves, they're going to move away at some stage. And where's the best example? Today. The reason why the youth today, modern youth, Hindu as well as non-Hindu youth, are moving away from their religion is because the experiential dimension of religion has been overlooked or has been kind of pushed aside, not given enough prominence, not given central position. The moment you do that, this is the youth, you tell them, oh, there's a God in heaven and you do this and that and you go to meet him. He's not convinced. He'll move away. He says, oh, you must go to temple and do this and this will happen, good things will happen to you. He's not convinced. He can do good things for himself without visiting a temple. Same with the Western youth. You see, the churches are being abandoned dramatically. Do you know how dangerous the situation is? I'm talking of the Christian tradition basically. Forget about the church being abandoned. The youth in the Christian schools that I go to, when I ask them how many believers really you think the religions have something for going for it, or how many atheists and agnostics, my experience is showing now, because I've been in the system for about 15 years now, now it's showing very clearly that majority of them are atheists or agnostics. They moved away from religion.